Audio check. All right. Okay, I believe everything should be up and running. Even though I do the same process every single week, I do still like to be aware of the process. Just check if it's all up and running properly. So, in any case, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you may be in the world. Welcome back to Aero Racing. This is, let me get this right, the Gr3 Championship Season 19, Round 4 of the Tier 3 White Division. I'll have overcomplicated that, haven't I? Hello, GMS. Nice to have you in the chat as per. Always good to. I want to see you, how you fare today as well. So, greetings everyone. It is a pretty stacked grid. It's 14 drivers and it's a 9-lap sprint race around Daytona. Oh, I'll yeehaw to you too. And well, Deco, don't worry. I will try to slightly change the timings around for next week onwards. You get it maybe another 3 or so hours from now on. I don't know exactly Europe. It's a little different time zone than I am. So that's the optimism that you should have, Deco. That is, GMS is explaining that perfectly, is what you should be doing. Nonetheless, we'll get back to that later. 14 drivers with us, 9 laps of the sprint. Let's have a look at the grid order before we begin. So we have Turbo Boy in the Peugeot, who is on pole. If you remember from last week, it was Turbo Boy who was in P2 for about, I don't know, million laps. For what from it seemed like from his point of view, stuck behind GMS. He is in P1. Deco, welcome to the chat. He is in P2. A, that's just what I've been calling him for the past 3 rounds, and he's not decided to tell me otherwise. He's in P3. Fancy in the Beamer is in P4. His teammate Cherry is right behind him in P5, so the two Beamer teammates are pretty close together. The aggressively American GMS, we are getting to you. Just ahead of you is Goose in the McLaren in P6, and the aggressively American Irish driver in GMS play is in P7 in the other Alpha, so a few places behind his teammate, Deco. I don't believe I've seen this driver before, so welcome Zilef, the French driver, in the Aston Martin in P8. I think this is the 2011 Aston Martin. I could be wrong. Don't take my word for it. The Great Dane, and thank you GMS and Kling Kachao, the Great Dane, for uploading the replays for the sprint and the feature. Both. LT Rocker in the Subaru is in P10. We have D-Dubs in the Mercedes in 11th. Epsilon in P12. Rocket in 13th in the NSX. And the last driver on the grid is RCR Sapper 31 in the Ferrari. There you go. That's the grid. Well, I don't think we need to wait for anything, do we? Just want to have a look at the tire situation, which I didn't have a look at previously. So, without any further ado, let's go. 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights ahead of the drivers, and when the lights go out, we go racing. It seems to be a decent start for Turbo Boy. Somebody stalled. Is that Cherry? I think it is the one of the Beamers at least. I think Fancy's got through without issues, so that has to be Cherry. But up front, it seems like Turbo Boy's got a pretty good start. There is an invisible wall here, which I dearly hope nobody hits. But as we go towards the first corner, the first turn, we'll go into the infield section in this 9-lap sprint. Turbo Boy seems to be under control and have it under control, and he is still in the lead. But Deco's close behind. I think he will be pretty keen to make some moves. While the field is closely bunched up, Turbo Boy's got a little bit off circuit there, slightly kicking up some grass. A has got a great start up into P3. What a start for him. Fancy still stayed in P4. I don't think he'll be really happy with that. GMS also moving up. I think it is 3 places up from P8. I think it was to P5. So that's well done. Same goes for the Great Dane. So a couple of people have gone backwards. So Sherry's gone backwards, obviously, as we saw. Rocket is down to 14th place. And as we go into the chicane for the first time, let's see if we're going to see any opportunistic moves being made here. What about those up front? Deco and Turbo Boy. Deco's got a good run. Alpha's pretty handy in a straight line. Not the outright best, but it's still pretty good. Let's see who's going to send one down the inside. Before we even approach the chicane, I think Deco may have the move done. I don't think Turbo will fight it. Doesn't make sense to do so. It'll be smarter to build it up over the next few corners and into the start-finish straight. And as we exit the chicane, it seems to be all fine and dandy for everyone. A has got a great exit there. I think he may also be looking to size up a move on the two ahead of him sometime. Fancy in P4 coming under a lot of pressure from JMS, the aggressively American driver for this race, as he says himself, is putting Fancy under a lot of pressure. But actually, it's here, the Great Dane, Klinker Chow in the Jaguar is putting JMS under pressure. As we start lap 2, are we going to see any opportunistic moves here? Wow, that's close between JMS and Fancy. I don't think Fancy will be particularly pleased with that. Goes off circuit and loses a place, and one more I think it is, to LT Rocco, Klinker Chow and JMS. So Fancy will be very, very upset, and I assume there may have been a few reports as well. Zilef in the Aston ran into the back of Fancy. I think just didn't anticipate Fancy going a little bit slow there, but no harm done. I think they're both pretty simple as they are, and I have very clearly missed something here. I need to have another look at this because, well, what did I miss exactly? No. For a moment I thought the Turbo had regained the position, sorry. So Turbo still in P2. A is slowly closing up to the back of the Peugeot, and well, GMS with the bump sticker, and we can very clearly see that on the right hand side of his car. I think that is an invitation for others as well. So Kling giving him a bit of a bump draft here. I'm assuming that is going to be a trend for some drivers over the course of this race weekend. Turbo has gone very wide there, it seems, or is he just trying to take an alternative line to get a slightly better exit? Well, whatever the case, I think A is going to be happy to see that Turbo is getting closer to him and further away from Deco, because he's not going to be getting a lot of the slipstream either. So somebody's making moves further back. Is that Epsilon and Fancy? No, that's Epsilon and Zilef. So Zilef losing a place to Epsilon. Epsilon, will he try to dive on Fancy into the chicane? I think he is wise enough to think better of it, and sensibly so. Epsilon holds back for now, and once we exit the chicane, yeah, they're all... Only Zilef and Epsilon have traded places further back. What about Cherry? Oh, I see two cars going side by side. That's Kling and JMS. One lap prior they were... Well, Kling was giving JMS a bump drop. This time around, I think he's just going to hold position for now. As we start lap 3, will Turbo be able to regain the lost ground that he's lost to Deco? Will Deco be able to hold on to P1? What about A? Can A be a factor in all this? What about JMS and Kling? They are very, very close, but they cause a bit of havoc for those around them, and probably for LT Rocco behind them. Let's find out as we go into the infield for the third time in this race, and I think that is JMS getting close to A, but just not able to make a move at that point in time, and drivers are going a little bit too wide there. I think if somebody goes a little bit too opportunistic, they may just end up under the grass there. I hope that doesn't, that fate doesn't befall anyone in the sprint or in the feature, but they are getting perilously close to it seems. Kling is coming under pressure from LT Rocco now, so what Kling needs to do is just focus on getting a good exit here. This is getting very feisty. I think Turbo's picked up the pace a little bit, maybe Deco's made a small mistake, but whatever the case, they are a lot closer now than they were one lap prior. And as we go into the chicane for the third time, are we going to see A try to pounce? Are we going to see Turbo Boy defend aggressively, or possibly just try to get the best possible exit and try and get past Deco? We're going to find out as we go into the chicane, third time in this race. Deco leads the way, followed by Turbo, and let's have a look from the cinematic perspective for once. Deco gets a decent exit. I think they're all just going to be holding position for now, but that could change come the main straight. And here you go, Kling and JMS are, look at this, they are side by side, and LT Rocco wants to join in on the fun. There's sparks flying there as we head towards the start finish line. LT has gotten ahead of Kling only slightly, but I think he actually made it stick. Well done. LT Rocco makes the move on Kling and looking to do the same to JMS as we go into the left-hander and start lap 4, and that is LT Rocco's made the move. What is going on here? This is getting feisty. Will Turbo send one down the inside, or will he just want to get a better exit here? Nico hangs on. A is so close. I think they made a little bit of contact there, the Peugeot and the Lamborghini. But as we go towards the end of this infield section, A is still very close. Don't discount him here. He may go for a move. I think he wanted to there, but as you could very clearly see, Turbo Boy closed the door, firmly shut on him. What about these guys? JMS has lost the place to LT Rocker and to Kling. So that means now the Irish driver is now down to P6 and not far ahead of Fancy Locks either. And JMS has not got the ideal exit onto this banked part of the circuit either. And that's a penalty. So that's a pretty woeful end to the infield section for JMS, and Fancy is a lot closer as well. What about these two? LT versus Kling, and this is a cinematic camera which is slowly zooming in, which is I was trying to figure out where these two were. Kling has made the move. LT Rocker backs out of it, doesn't want to try and fight Kling through this chicane section, or it would be very easy to pick up a penalty there. GMS will have to serve this penalty. LT Rocker went over the curbing, but I don't think it will be too problematic for him there. And yes, GMS, I know that is a very problematic section. Sparks flying once again from the back of LT Rocker's car. Kling seems to be wanting to just get into the slipstream here, wanting to get the most possible not a straight line speed. GMS slowing down. Fancy Locks gets past him. What about Zilef? Is he close enough to make a move on the ailing Alfa Romeo? One Alfa leads, the other stumbling down the order. GMS goes down to P8. Deco is still able to hang on to P1, but it seems like it's only just about the case because Turbo's right there. It's lap 5, so we have completed a half race distance. I think we will hit half race distance exactly at some point once we start the bank. Not exactly sure where half the track ends. I should stop speaking about this. Yeah, let's get back to the action here. Epsilon now closing on towards GMS. GMS now behind Zilef. Obviously, we saw Zilef get past as well. So this section was torment for GMS to get through the last time around. What about this time? Are we going to see GMS try and make some moves possibly on the Aston ahead of him? Zilef goes a little bit wide, doesn't get the best exit there. GMS himself a little bit squirmy there with the throttle. Decosing the last 3-4 laps so intense. It's a great thing we are entering that section now. I'm very keen to see how this battle unfolds over the next few laps. And as we go into the chicane, are we going to see a mistake? Are we going to see an opportunistic, aggressive entry into the chicane? Let's see. A has fallen back actually. I have not paid much attention to that. Turbo gets a decent exit, a lot closer to Deco. A has fallen back, but I don't think LT Rocker will be able to get him on this occasion. Or will he? Like I think the Lambo is pretty good with the straight line speed. A is not trying to break the slipstream right now, so I don't see a move coming here unless LT is somehow able to do it around the outside at the opening part of the infield. I think that would be a bit too risky, but LT looks like he's going to want to risk it. He forces A to go a little bit deeper into the corner there in hopes of defending it. And LT with the switchback, can he make the move on A, or will A go for the dive and just hold on to his position? He is managing to do so pretty well, and Kling in all this, he's just a spectator, but he's now looking to get involved in this. He is now wanting to make some moves and get ahead of the battling duo ahead of him, A and LT Rocker. And Fancy Locks, don't discount him, never discount him in a race like this. And LT Rocker goes for the dive. A has left the door open, and that was all the impetus LT Rocker needed, but LT Rocker has a massive snap there. Somehow manages to keep it under control. Well done to Subaru driver. And as we enter the banked part of the circuit, LT Rocker is now up into P3, but look, there is, I don't know if it's the car, is the tires, what's the situation, but LT is just struggling at these, at the point where he needs to put the power down. There's just no grip in the rear end of that Subaru for him. A is just pump drafting right now. Kling can just see all this unfolding ahead of him, but he is staying dormant for the time being, is the Great Dane, as he had mentioned he wants me to call him. Great Dane. And the Jaguar is holding on to his position right now. Fancy Locks, who's asked me to call him the speedy Brazilian nugget, is very speedy at the exit of that chicane. Kling gets past. The Brazilian nugget looks to get past A as well. So A has lost 2 places and it might just become 3 by the time we start lap 7 if Fancy Locks decides to make a move, but I don't think that is going to be happening anytime soon. And we start lap 7. Will A try move around the outside? What is LT looking to do? What will Kling be able to make an opportunistic dive here? A has lost a position to Kling, and I think that position is going to be lost for good. They are still side by side. This is great racing to watch. I think A will dive it down the inside logically. So, oh my word! Yeah, I think you could see that being an inevitability from the moment A just slightly missed his breaking point. I was hoping it wouldn't come to that, but I think A just got a little bit distracted in that battle here. So let's have a look from Kling's perspective. We can just see A going for the dive and absolutely taking out LT Rocker there. Subaru driver will be very, very upset with that, but not. Wow, Zalev up into P5. Well done. Now it is GMS between LT Rocker and well, A has fallen behind his teammate. So now the Lambos are line astern, but that was a hectic slow corner there that we saw in the infield, and this is where the battle is going to get feisty, said Deco, and we are going to witness that. To the banking we go. There's a lot to follow, so do forgive me if I miss some battles there for the drivers who are watching the replay again. So we can see LT Rocker getting close to Zalev. LT Rocker obviously was running P3, he's now running in P6. GMS has gained I think a position thanks to the misfortunes of LT and A. And as we go to the chicane here, LT is going to go for the move. Zalev will not fight it. I thought he would. They were level on track, so I thought Zalev would put up more of a fight, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Now this is where it's getting feisty, and Deco and Turbo, whoa, it almost seems like Deco's trying to force him into the pit lane here, but they are still side by side. It is hard racing, hard but just about fair, I would say. As we go into the first corner, Deco going for the wider approach to the corner around the outside. Turbo decided to yield there. I think he would have been able to hold his line and give Deco a bit of a harder time, but he decided against it, and now Turbo is still in P2, Deco still in P1, and I think Kling can see all this occurring in the distance, and he'll be hoping that these two keep battling that way and possibly come to blows, because that would mean a possible P1 for him. What about Fancy? Can Fancy get past the Jaguar driver before the end? We're about to find out. Deco versus Turbo. We'll get to this battle in a moment. Let's have a look further back. What about these guys? JMS, Zalev, LT. Well, LT Rocker. What's happened to LT Rocker? I think I've missed something. Oh, he's made a mistake at the start of the first. I mean, there you go, because I swore he was ahead of Zalev and JMS. So into the first corner we go. It doesn't. Oh, he was hit by Zalev into turn 1, and the brakes glowing red hot, much like LT Rocker's helmet would be right now with the rage he must be feeling after that bit of contact. Epsilon and JMS have gotten through. JMS had to move there to avoid Epsilon being able to dive down the inside. So there you go. JMS is not about to get complacent here. He is defending with his life right now, with all his might, I should say, rather. Better way to put it. As we go into the right-hander, and Zalev now in P5, LT Rocker coming under pressure from A once again. So these two did not have a very good time last time around, and LT Rocker, I assume Logan, that is you. So firstly welcome, and secondly commiserations for all the trouble you've had at the infield section in this race. We are about to enter the penultimate lap. These two are miles ahead of the rest right now. And are we going to see an aggressive move here? It would be logical for Turbo Boy not to make a move here, because it would set him up very well for a move on the last lap. Deco gets a nice exit, Turbo also with a decent exit. It'll all just come down to, I think, turn 1 now. What about those further back? We can see nothing yet. Zalev has made a mistake, or has JMS just got a fantastic exit? Whatever be the case, they are side by side. I want to follow this battle as well, but there's so much to follow. Thank you, T3 White. You make races very, very interesting. We start the final lap of the sprint race. Turbo still follows Deco as we go into the infield for one last time in the sprint. He goes a little bit hot into the corner, but he's still right there. Although there's a little mistake I think that is made, because that's allowed Deco to have a little bit of breathing room for now. What about these guys for the back? Zlef and GMS, very close, very close. And they are side by side, approaching the slow right-hander. Are we going to see GMS go for a move? He's going to send one down the inside. It's a question of whether he's going to be able to hold it. He doesn't allow Zlef to get the switch back there, and GMS is going to stay in P5 for the time being at least. Epsilon ahead of LT Rocker. LT Rocker still being followed by A. So I'm going to get to the leaders in a moment here, because this is the last lap, and as per Deco's words, we are about to see a pretty close finish here. So as we exit this section, I'm just going to follow these two for the time being, because there is a little bit of history from prior laps that we've seen. So maybe something incoming between these two. GMS leads, Zlef leads, Epsilon leads, LT Rocker leads A. I think we may just have to get back to this in a moment here, as we go into the chicane one last time in the sprint. Deco leads the way, and I think he will just be looking to keep it clean, because he has enough of a gap behind him to not be hassled by Turbo Boy. And there you go. I think Deco's got a good enough exit, and as he goes through the banking for one last time, Deco will be pretty happy about that. Turbo will not be so pleased. He's gone from pole to P2, but he has shown pretty good pace. Don't discount him in the feature as well. And there you go, GMS, thank you for that. I am very keen to see how this unfolds. Zlef versus GMS. Look at it. GMS just swarming around trying to find a way past. Deco wins from Turbo Boy, by the way. Kling finishes in P3, Fancy in P4. But what about this? It's a photo finish between Zlef and GMS. Oh, and that was 8,000s, as just mentioned by GMS. Well done. Epsilon has a flourish to the finish in P7. I think he got the best possible view of this. And look at these two. Just amazing finish here between these two. GMS and Epsilon. GMS and Zlef, I should say. Epsilon had the best view of it. He had a flourish to the finish. A finishes in P8. LT Rocker drops down the order to P9, and Goose finishes in P10. Not talked about Goose in a while. I don't think he's a feature for much of this race. Sapper finishes in 11th, D-Dubs in 12th, Cherry in 13th, and Rocket has had a pretty disastrous race given how far behind the field he is right now. Turbo Boy had the fastest lap despite being in P2, so there you go. Don't discount anyone here. This could really be anyone's race. And for all the woes LT Rock has had to face, he will be in P1, P2 I should say, for the start of the feature race. And let me pull up the feature very quickly. Where is the feature? Thank you, Gr3 for uploading the replay. I'm just gonna have a little bit of water here for the feature starts. If I'm not wrong, this is a 20 lap race. Could be wrong. Let me find out. Moment of truth. And is it 20 laps? I should remember it from last season. 23 laps. Yeah, there you go. So I was wrong. Well, nonetheless, we have what seems to be a pretty eventful race ahead of us. And Goose, who we didn't speak a whole lot about in the sprint, is going to have the best possible start to the feature, because he's going to be in P1, leading the field away. All he needs to do is hold his throttle pedal, and it should go smoothly for him into turn 1. From there onwards, it's his call to make. But yes, nonetheless. Goose is on the mediums, LT Rocker in P2 also on the mediums, A is on the hards, sorry, Epsilon on the mediums, so the two Lambos going for split strategies. GMS also on the mediums, Zlef is on the mediums as well, so is Fancy Locks, so is Kling Pichao. Gr3. Turbo Boy breaks that trend and is starting on the hard tires. Deco is on the medium, so Deco obviously our sprint winner. He will be pretty feisty, but all those around him are also on the same compound of tires, so it's a question of how well he'll be able to get through the traffic. RCR Sapper is on the mediums, D-Dubs in 12th is on the mediums as well, so is Cherry and so is Rocket. So the majority of the field are on the mediums, including the driver in P1. Only two, I think, from what I saw. A and Turbo Boy are on the hards. Everybody else is on the medium. So strategy should be, well, hards to mediums or mediums to hards, depending on who you are. Unless the hard runners can take their tires long enough into the race to go into the softs. Well, we'll find out at the end of 23 laps what strategy was right and which one could have been avoided. But we are about to witness it unfold in real time as the lights go out and we go racing. Goose leads the way. LT Rocker seems to have got a slightly better launch, so all doesn't seem to be fine right now. Goose is gonna come under immediate pressure from LT Rocker, who may send one on the inside. No, decides against it, sensibly so. That would have been a little chaotic there. A is in P3. I would assume these two would swap, A and Epsilon. Some good teamwork between these two possibly. As we go to the infield for the first time, Goose has gone deep into the corner and allows LT Rocker to go up into P1. So all it took was a couple of corners and Goose is already down to P3 because A has gotten past him. I thought Goose would defend it, but now he's going to be on the outside, which is going to be a tricky line to defend because A will have the inside line. He may just be able to force Goose off. And there you go, A moves up into P3. And what about Epsilon? Oh! A goes on to P2 and then goes onto the grass. Now JMS is ahead of him, Fancy Locks is ahead of him, so A losing a bit of tire grip there at the exit of the corner and falling down the order, tumbling down the order. It's gone from P2 to P7, and there you go, Turbo Boy, and well, there's so much action going on here. Turbo Boy in P8, so who's had a bad start? That's Deco. Deco's not been able to make up the ground he would have liked on the opening few corners. As we're going to the chicane for the first time, it's going to be Deco and Zelef probably side by side. No, Deco decides against it. It's going to be Zelef and Turbo side by side possibly. As we go into this chicane, and I think Zelef tried to force Turbo into making a bit of a mistake there. I don't think he succeeded because they're all still holding and a stern. Oh no, Fancy Locks. He's got a 1 second penalty, and I think he'll be able to serve it on this very lap. He won't be very happy about it, because this is when the field is closest bunched up together, and this is gonna just drop him down the order. He may well be outside the top 10 now. Cars are just swerving all around him trying to avoid the slow BMW, but as we go into turn 1, who's that? That's Turbo Boy has gone very, very wide there. He's lost so many places. He's now down to P10. Fancy is right behind him in P11, and this is super, super chaotic. This is really anybody's call right now. Deco, a sprint winner in P8. I heard somebody clattering the barrier there in the background. That is A and Deco very close. Zelef very close, right in front of them as well. So I just don't know what should I focus on. The leaders, the midfield. Thank you. This is an exodus of action is always good to have because it gives me a lot to look forward to over the next 23 laps. Zelef and Deco battling it out, A ahead of them. So A in the, on the hards I should say, is not had the best of starts, down the order now to P6. He has made up a pace after that earlier mistake. Indeed, multi-screen, I would need professional broadcasting team to help me out with this because that's the only way we'll be able to get all of the action captured in one go. GM is trying to force the move on Epsilon, and look at that Kling Chow out of nowhere might just be the one to benefit from all this. As we go into the banking, oh, the pair of them have penalties, Epsilon and GMS, and Kling will breeze into P3, but they are still battling it out very, very fastly. Epsilon has 1.5 seconds, GMS has 1 second, so that will also come into play here. Kling goes up into P3, but what about this? A will get past Epsilon and JMS. What about those for the back? Deco will also get past JMS. So Deco, who started in 10th, is now up to P5. But how long will that be for? Because Zelef is right behind him. JMS is going to be pretty upset with having to had to serve that penalty. Same goes for Epsilon. Fancy Locks right behind Epsilon. Wow, so much to follow. Oh, there's contact between JMS and Zelef. I think Zelef may have closed the door, or did GMS just come in a little bit too hot into that corner. Let's have a look here. As we go into this slow right-hander, did GMS just miss his breaking point, or did Zelef? Oh, I think they just converged on the same bit of track. I don't think there was any malicious intent from either of them for that particular moment. Fancy is trying to move around the outside, and I think he'll be able to make it stick. Epsilon on the medium, so is Fancy Locks, but I don't think Epsilon will have a whole lot to defend with, or really, unless he just has to go down the inside. Yeah, there you go. Sends one down the inside. Fancy Locks will just no, he is not been able to hold on onto that battle, and he's lost a position to Epsilon, and he's gone deep into the corner. His teammate Cherry will be poised to make a move and move into P9. So Fancy Locks going backwards, tumbles down the order slightly, now behind his teammate. Up front, we have a battle brewing. Deco versus A. A on the hards, obviously, Deco on the mediums, and Deco has the inside line. A will, I think, just be forced to yield here, but Deco's gone off circuit there, and that, well, how did those two not crash? Because for a moment it seemed like they would be counting the number of tires in the tire barrier there. JMS giving Deco a bit of a bump draft there, intentional or not, I'm not sure, probably intentional. There was a bit of light flashing there as well. The left now into P4, but look at the overspeed Deco has thanks to the double slipstream that he's picking up. Switches to the top, what should I say, I don't know what the NAFTA wording and all is for these bank corners. This goes to the top of the banking, and as we go into the first corner here, Deco has, well, as we can see right there, that is the perfect example of teamwork, and that is a lesson in how to do it so efficiently. JMS's little bump draft there has given Deco the opportunity to get past two drivers, and now those two are still battling it out, and that allows now JMS to try and pounce on the two ahead. Indeed, great overtake, very well done, and just the decision to go to the top of the banking really helped Deco. Now the battle will unfold between GMS and these two, I think, but now GMS will be looking to make some moves. What about Epsilon further back? Epsilon's not had the ideal start. He's now behind a few cars he would otherwise have liked to have been behind, but the race is long. We have the pit stop phase yet to arrive. Let's see how they fare. So LT Rocker got a pretty good lead, but I think it was the first round of the season where we saw LT Rocker just run out of tires. Can't remember for sure, that is about 4 weeks ago right now, so not very sure about that. But LT Rocker has a pretty good lead. Goose is still able to hold on to P2, playing in P3. This is where the meat and potatoes of all the action is occurring. Is the midfield. Bless the midfield. They provide us with entertainment every single race. And I think we're about to see some more of it as JMS looks to set up a move on Zilef. And I think he's made the move, but will Epsilon be able to make it two cars in one straight? That was Alsacia indeed. I think I remember that. It was horrible tire wear for the Subaru there. Whoa! JMS aggressively defending against Zilef, trying to keep the Aston at bay, and JMS getting a little bit out of shape, or is that just trying to find some room to draw alongside A? Because it's ridiculous. So much action. I'm making a few wrong calls as well here, just because I'm mixing up everybody's names. Just so much action going on. JMS, Zilef and A. Anybody's game here. They both lose the car slightly because of going onto the grass. JMS and Zilef. Epsilon tags the back of Zilef's Aston Martin, and as we exit the infield, quite a few drivers taking to the grass, but nobody going completely onto the grass. JMS is defending quite aggressively in his pursuit to keep Zilef behind, and now onto the banking we go. A versus JMS, but this is what we've seen over the past few laps. Once two cars ahead of you are battling it out, you're just going to get a fantastic slipstream, and that's going to allow Zilef to get ahead of A and possibly pass JMS as well. I don't think JMS will be overtaken by the Aston here, and into the chicane we go. No, Zilef sends it down the inside. JMS has to go over the grass there, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be a penalty, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be reported as well by JMS, as we obviously don't like to see it happen that way. Whoa, what's happening here between the Lamborghini and the Alpha? Epsilon and JMS, that seemed a little bit open lobby to me, F1 open lobby, but thankfully they've realized they were too close to one another and kept it clean. A can see his team. GMS is in a Lamborghini sandwich right now, which is not an ideal situation to be in. And into turn 1 we go. A has the outside line, GMS has the inside line. They are now side by side, and A almost loses the rear end and almost takes GMS with him into the wall. Fancy locks sends it down the inside of A, and so many position changes have occurred. I just cannot place them properly together because a lot of action has gone on here, and Zilef rather aggressively finds his way past GMS and up into P5. GMS himself falls down the order to P7 now and has Fancy Locks slowly closing up to the back of his car. A will not be very happy with how his race is unfolding either. He has stumbled down the order to P9. I think he was running, he started, it was at what, P3? So in 6 laps he's lost 6 positions. That's not the right way. He would have. It's not the direction he would have wanted his race to go in. But let's see, into the chicane we go. For the 6th time in this race, Zilef has not got a very good run into or out of the chicane, because Epsilon got a lot very close to him. GMS also very close to Epsilon. But I think Zilef's misfortune also ended up being misfortune for the Lamborghini driver, because now GMS is right behind him and looking to make a move as we start the 7th lap of this race. And is that Zilef is trying to break the slipstream, or is nobody's going to pit this early? Should be able to hold on. As we start lap 7, GMS, Epsilon and Zilef all very close to one another, but I think they'll all hold position unless, for a moment I thought GMS was going to go a little bit wide there and open up the door for Fancy Locks. So into the slow right-hander we go, and somebody grazed the wall there, I think. Pit wall. Epsilon sends one down the inside. There is contact. So once again a Lamborghini at that corner makes a move. Zilef loses 2 places and is now behind GMS once again. But as we've seen, Zilef can be a little bit aggressive here. Let's see if he's going to continue that aggression into this right-hander. GMS will not be happy with that. GMS will definitely be pretty upset, but not. Oh, whoa, what's happened there? Fancy Locks has gone from P8 to P5, but how? What happened to Epsilon? So Zilef made contact with Epsilon. That sent Epsilon into the grass. GMS onto the grass. A has just been a spectator and has very calmly made his way into P. You can just see this. I think we'll have a look at the cinematic action. So Zilef and Epsilon are going to make contact here. So I think this should be the most perfect way to see all the action unfold. GMS being just the victim of some elbows out racing there. Fancy up into P5. A is also, no. For a moment, well, I need to look at this from so many angles here. So let's just see it from Fancy Locks' angle. So there you go. There's chaos unfolding, and Fancy somehow manages to avoid the bulk of it and gets through without issue. But there you go. An out of control GMS runs into him. I don't think that would be GMS's fault. He was on the grass. Due to circumstances beyond his control. And now A, who I just said was having a pretty dismal race, has made up 3 places. All thanks to the chaos unfolding ahead of him. Fancy is also made up a place, but at the cost of Epsilon and Zilef. And I think I have missed something here. Turbo Boy. Have I missed something here? Or am I just mixing up multiple drivers? I'm sorry, I'm rewinding for no reason here. Turbo Boy, I was pretty sure I think I'm mixing up some drivers here in terms of action. So forgive me. This is getting back to the battle at hand. Lap 7, A versus Fancy Locks. So Fancy is now behind the Lamborghini. GMS in P5. Deco. Well, just look at the advantage that Lil Bump Rough has given him. Look at that. The driver behind is just exiting the chicane. Deco's already halfway through the left-handed part of the banking there. That was incredible. GMS has a penalty. And that will allow A to move up into P5. And Fancy will also be able to get past. So the Alpha slowing down, Lambo and Beamer going ahead. D-Dubs will also get ahead because of the sheer overspeed that he has right now. And GMS falls to P8. Epsilon just crosses the finish line, so there is a fair amount of field spread right now between these drivers. And well, it escapes my mind. I could swear I saw Turbo Boy in the top 10, but I can't seem to remember what's happened to him in these opening few laps. Or maybe he's just not made up ground. There's been so much action in the midfield, I've just completely forgotten what's happened to Turbo. Well, I missed some action here, it seems, because we were having a look at midfield. We've completely missed what's happened to the leader here. LT Rockers picked up a 1 second penalty, and that is I think going to allow Goose and Kling to get past. For a moment we did get a glimpse of that. But what's going to happen here? So there we're going to see in the distance LT slowing down, the Subaru slowing down. Goose will be able to get past. The wipers are on for the McLaren, so I'm pretty sure they'll turn it off, and Kling will also be able to get past. But into the straight infield section we go. LT is starting to run out of tires, but not at the rate at which it was in the first race of the season. So into this right-hander we go, and the lead has changed hands. It's now Goose into P1, and yeah, wipers on for all the sweats. Only Goose has got the wipers on right now. We may be able to see a couple others also put on their wipers towards the pit stop phase, because that's when it's going to get very, very feisty. LT is trying to find a way down the inside, but no, loses the rear end. Oh, that just seems to be a trend with this car, doesn't it? It's so quick, but there just seems to be no grip at the crucial points when you need to just be putting down the power there. LT stays in P3, and he will be pretty upset with this latest development, because it's now resulted in him being behind two cars that he was previously ahead of. Deco in P4. I think he's just trying to keep it consistent, keep it clean, slowly but steadily close up to the back of LT, Kling and Goose. Into the chicane we go, and everybody seems to be getting through without any issues here. Deco, I think a little bit squirmy on the throttle there. A, Fancy and GMS. Well, this is the battle that keeps on giving, and presently you can just see, I'm pretty sure A is going to go into the softs here, so strategy will be very key to watch later on in the race. Up front, let's have a look if there's anything that's going to happen. It doesn't seem like it, so let's get back to the battle between Fancy and A. Are we going to see the Beamer go for a move? Are we going to see GMS go to service penalty the lap prior? Is he going to be able to get close due to these two battling it out so aggressively? A holds on to P5, Fancy still in P6, GMS P7, but Fancy has found the wall. Didn't seem like there was any contact there, so let's just have a look. So I think just putting the power down, Fancy made a mistake and finds the wall. And this is a pretty problematic part of the track to find the wall, because a safe rejoin would be very difficult to do, but I think he's going to do it as nicely as possible. Fancy now down to P10. Zelev. Well, I seem to be... Well, it's eluding me right now. Zelev, I swear... Oh, what's happening here between Cherry and Sapper? And they've lost the position to Zelev. 11, so I think I've just completely forgotten what's happened to some of the drivers here, because of the sheer amount of action that I've seen. I can't remember what's happened to the likes of Turbo Boy and Zelev. Into the chicane we go, and LT will still hold on to P3 for the time being, because he just doesn't seem like he's able to get close to Kling and Goose right now. And at the rate at which his tires are wearing out, I would assume it would be the best course of action for the Subaru driver to box around lap 11 or 12 for the hards, maybe? Or does he want to go under the softs? Given the rate at which his tires wear out, I think it's best case scenario for LT to just consider the hards as well, but let's see. I don't think his tires are that one after all. Goose is just about able to hold off Kling right now. Deco is steadily gaining on his teammates, so just the gap that he has right now to the rest of the field and the way he's been able to slowly but steadily close up to the rest of to those ahead of him, I think just proves how incredibly beneficial that one little bumper off was. What about, okay, so let's have a look. We have our first driver into the pit lane, that's Epsilon Delta, unless, yeah, Rocket has pitted. Rocket, but I think he's gone from mediums to medium, so he's going for a 2-stop, it seems, Rocket. Epsilon pits from the mediums, I think it's going to be for the hards at this stage in the race. If he wants to make a 1-stop, his preferred strategy. Let's have a look at in the midfield. So we've not spoken a whole lot about D-Dubs, but he's running in a pretty not a comfortable, but in a pretty good P7 right now. I think he can be pleased with that, given I think he finished P12 in the sprint. So D-Dubs currently running in 7th. It is only lap 10, so there's a whole lot more that can unfold over the next 14 laps, including this one. Goose exits the chicane. It's a decent exit, and I think the field is just settling into a bit of a rhythm right now. The absolute chaos of the opening few laps seems to have died down, or has it? Are we going to see some battles here between JMS and D-Dubs? No. We were going to see some battles between Fancy and A. He's on the hards and he's having a pretty decent second half of this race. I have no doubt that A is going to go on to the softs, but it's the question of when he decides to pit. I think it would be in his best interest to not leave it too late in the race. Maybe around lap, I want to say 16, 17. Turbo pits. So the other hard runner, the only other hard runner, is coming into the pit lane and is probably going to go onto the side of mediums. And here you see Cherry and Zilef battling it out. Zilef losing the rear end slightly. The tires are in similar conditions, so you would expect them to be battling it out properly, aggressively. So let's see if Cherry can find a way past the Aston. Doesn't seem like it at this point in time. Sapper has lost the rear end, it seems, in a bit to just push on after Cherry and Zilef. Epsilon has pitted onto the soft tires. Okay, I didn't expect that. Fancy. Did Fancy have another mistake? Because he's fallen back a little further. Turbos come out onto the mediums. Rocket on the medium. So what happened? Did Fancy Locks have another moment, or what happened there? Because I could swear he was. I think he had a penalty to serve, or what's happened here? Because he's going a little bit slow here. Epsilon will breeze past unless there is some game going on here between these two. I'm not sure what's happening, but Fancy Locks is stumbling down the order. He is currently in P12. He was running a pretty good P5, P6 previously. Let's focus on these guys as well for a moment. Goose flips the wall there. Kling is pretty close to him, so it is approaching half race distance. This is the point of the race where the drivers will really have to figure out what their ideal strategy should be. Look at the fuel difference between Goose and Kling. As we've seen in previous races, just staying in the pits for a few extra seconds to take on a little bit more fuel can prove to be very detrimental to your race, because it will cost you some very crucial track position. And in that regard, I think Kling will have a little bit more lever to play around with right now, because he has a little bit more fuel right now. As we are about to start lap 12, are any of the top 3 going to come into the pit lane? What about LT? Will LT pit for the hards, or will he stay out? I think he will stay out. Probably going to pit around lap, I want to say 14 or so for the softs, maybe for the hards. They're about to find out. Deco is, I think I'm just going off a broken record here, but this is the gap that he has right now. Don't discount Deco from the contention of the race win here right now. He's in an Alpha, which is, I think, an all-round pretty stable car in regards to straight line speed, tire wear, and so on. So don't discount Deco. He's not that far behind the top 3 either. So all he needs is a few good laps to put him in contention of going for a opportunistic undercut or overcut and going into the lead of the race. A in P5 on the hards is having a much better second half of this race than he did first half. JMS had to endure a lot of side-by-side action and chaos, but now he runs in a pretty reasonable P6. And yeah, I would assume major hot shifting indeed JMS. That is something that very key thing around here, I think, because this is pretty problematic with fuel saving as a venue, if I'm not wrong. Am I mixing up with another track? I seem to be making a lot of mix-ups tonight, and I'm pretty sure that's all down to the fact that we've had so much action here. Fancy is running in P10, Turbo in 11. Oh, okay. Somebody is missing from that action. That's Epsilon. Where is Epsilon? Epsilon at the back of the grid. He's pitted onto softs again. So I'm not sure what's happening to Epsilon here. But thank you LT, thank you Logan for that timely message, because we will have a rewind to have a look at this. And now it is getting spicy between the top 3. LT had pulled away from the likes of Goose and Kling, but it doesn't seem like Goose has been able to do the same for Kling and LT behind him. Now LT and Kling side by side. Subaru gets ahead of the Jaguar, and as we go into the first corner, are we going to see Goose having to aggressively defend it, or is he confident in his car? It doesn't seem like it. Look at the amount of time he lost because of that little snap there, and LT sending him down the inside at the right-hander, slow right-hander. We've seen so many moves at this particular corner. Goose has lost 2 places in one corner. LT Rockers now back into the lead, but now it is Kling who's behind him. The McLaren of Goose falling down the order. Deco is not too far behind either, but LT has gone wide. Will that open up the door for Kling to make a move? Putting the power down has been a bit of an issue for the Subaru in the past few laps, as we've seen. So as we go to the left-hander, Kling gets a decent exit, but I think LT's got enough of an advantage for now to hold on to P1. Goose can see Deco in his rearview mirrors and can just see the Alpha getting ever closer every single lap and every single passing second. Deco is on a purple lap. Deco is coming alive on lap 13. This seems to be a lucky lap 13 for the Alpha driver, but it doesn't seem like that purple thing will hold, because he had to slow down a little bit too much there. He is pushing, he is trying his level best to get past the McLaren of Goose. As we start lap 14, are we going to see anybody pit, or do they stay out? Only driver I think in this who might pit is LT because of his tires, but I don't think he will be wanting to give up track position so early on. It is lap 14. Kling will try and move on the outside possibly. Inside is going to give LT a bit of a bump draft as it turns out. That's the last thing I expected to happen there. Deco around the outside. No, I think he'll just have to hold position, but the pair of them go wide, the top 2, and Goose moves back into the lead of the race. Oh, what exactly happened there? So did Kling run into the back of LT, or did he just followed the Subaru driver off track in sympathy? And Goose is back into the lead of the race. LT is in P2, Kling in P3. A has pit. So the hard runner has pit. That is, I would have expected honestly one of these 4 to come into the pits, but it turns out that A has pit. He is getting crucial on fuel, so maybe just wants to get a splash and dash onto the mediums and just play it safe. Or is he going to go under the softs like his teammate has? Epsilon is on the softs, he is at the back of the field. But, well, I'm very keen to see what becomes of this battle here. Goose is in the lead. LT's gone down the order, so has Kling. Deco has just been a spectator to the action unfolding ahead of him, and well, Deco has mentioned that his race is about to be over in 3, 2, 1. I think I'm gonna have to wait for the chicane. I will give it a proper countdown as well. I'm gonna try my best to time it correctly because I don't know what to expect. But here goes nothing. 3, 2, 1, go. Is it? It is not. LT's made a mistake. Kling will draw alongside, but there you go. This is... Well, I did mess up my timing there, and Deco's race comes to a rather dramatic... Deco's progress comes to a dramatic halt. His race is not over yet. These two are still battling it out. Goose will, I'm pretty sure, stay out. I'm just wondering when LT will come into the pits. His tires are getting pretty desperate right now. They're a bit to provide him with grip. Deco, that just I think will prove it. Deco, despite that huge moment, is still ahead of the driver behind. I think it may help that the driver behind would not be very willing to attack, given that it's his own teammate. Deco pits, but now, yeah, the 4-car battle has now been reduced to a 3-car battle. I think Deco is just gonna be looking back on that and wondering what may have been. Sherry pits as well, follows Deco into the pit lane, and Goose leads. I think this low fuel, low grip stint of the race is where the McLaren is really helping Goose. Somehow LT is able to hold on and he's not losing as much time as I expected him to, given the state of his front tires. Goose's rear right is in pretty bad condition. LT's fronts are not in very good condition. Kling is in a reasonable condition right now with his tires. D-Dub's ahead of GMS, so A in P6, he's on the mediums. Deco emerges on the softs in P7. Sapper is in P8 on the softs as well. Turbo in P9. Sherry emerges in P11. So this is waiting to see where the Beamer emerges. Fancy Locks has had a pretty disastrous race, he would have to do. Down in 13th, is exiting the pits and is onto the softs, I think it is? Yeah, has to be. So, pretty eventful races for some of the more established names in this tier, likes of Fancy and so on. But I think LT will be pitting. Has he run out of fuel? He has. I was wondering, I was going to say why he's not, I was going to comment on why he's not accelerating. So, LT's run out of fuel. The top 3 pits simultaneously. What about D-Dubs? I'm looking at the state of his fuel, he will be pitting as well at the end of this lap. There you go. Mercedes into the pits. And I'm sure the same will go for GMS. A has made his pit stop, has taken on tires. And he was running on the hard tires for the longest time, with all those ahead of him into the pits, and now they are starting their refueling phase of the pit stop. Where will A emerge compared to all these? So I would have expected him to go onto the softs A, but he's decided to go into the mediums, just playing it safe. Kling has gone on to the softs. Well, I think everybody here will go onto the softs, no doubt about it. Deco, after a pit stop, yeah, he has lost quite a bit of ground here. You can see there in the distance, those are the drivers he was battling it out with, and now he finds himself in a pretty lonely P5. I think the best he'll be able to do from here is P4, getting past A. LT Rocker's brakes are glowing red hot right now. Kling will start after Goose, and I think these 3 will be leading us towards a pretty eventful series of final 6 laps. What about A? Can A hold on to P4? Deco's not too far behind, so don't discount the Alpha driver from here on. He's setting a purple sector, so he has the pace. It's a matter of what's the maximum he'll be able to extract out of it. Sapper in P7, he is in a good position, but I don't know if his hard tires will get to the end. Soft tires, it's going to be a bit of a stretch here, I think, to get them to the end of the race. D-Dubs, I think, has just silently but steadily just made up ground. without causing too much trouble and is in a pretty good P6. I think you can be happy with that. But what about these three? I think our focus will now completely be on finding out which one of these three will be winning this race. Goose leads Kling, leads LT. As we start lap 17 of 23, is going to get feisty, I'm sure, and that's a nice camera angle. And the track is a little bit too dark here. There are a few more flashlights at Daytona, the floodlights, not flashlights, not using torches to illuminate the track. There's a few more floodlights at this track than what's visible here. It seems to be a little bit too dark right now. Goose in P1 has a very feisty Jaguar right behind him. LT in P3. A is coming under increased pressure from Deco. D-Dubs can see all this unfold in the distance. He'll be hoping for some action out of him. Boss pattern. There is another oval track at in the States where I did comms a few seasons ago for it, and it was pitch black. There was no way to tell. It's the track where there's a bridge in the middle part of the infield section, if you can know which one that is. So I don't know, for some reason night replays at this game are not particularly kind towards me, possibly it seems. But what is very kind on Kling Kachau is fate, because it is smiling on him. He's made the move, he's drawing level alongside the McLaren, and he is able to get past. Up into P1 goes the Great Dane, as he likes to be called. Kling Kachau into P1, Goose now down to P2, but never discount LT Rocker. He was in a pretty dominant lead before that mistake, that penalty I should say. Don't discount him, he is a little further back right now, but let's see what he's able to make of these final few laps. Kling is being put under a lot of pressure from Goose, and as we go over the finish line, Goose will be battling it out, and will he try one around the outside? Will he be able to? Will Kling give him the opportunity to? He will not. Kling will stay put in P1 for the time being. LT will just see all this ahead of him and be hoping that something occurs between these two, because that will then give him the advantage. Sapper pits, his rear right was in pretty bad condition, so I think this is, it is going to be fuel and tire pit stop. So GMS now into P7, D-Dubs to P6, Turbo into P8, Cherry in P9. So Rocket is also coming into the pits. He pitted very early. I think he was the first driver to pit, if I'm not wrong. So Rocket pits from the mediums. It's going to be onto the softs. I don't think this is the ideal strategy that Rocket has opted to go for, because he's going to be, well, I'm pretty sure he's going to be, well, he's going to stay where he is. Epsilon is a long way off the field. What about these three? Yeah, I did miss something. Contrary to what I thought, I did miss something. LT Rocker got a better exit and got past Goose into P2. And Goose was a little too far back to fight it. So the McLaren stays in P3. A and Deco battling it out. A will be able to hold on to his position for the time being, at least it seems. And the Lamborghini stays in P4, Alpha stays in P5. D-Dubs, if these two come to blows, D-Dubs will be the one to benefit the most. And that will be pretty remarkable, because we didn't speak a whole lot about him in the feature, in the sprint or in the most of the feature. And he's running in just outside the top 5. He is a few seconds behind the road from Deco, so don't think he'll be able to get them under normal circumstances. Only if these two, they are getting very close to one another, Deco and A. Deco will send one down the inside at the chicane, and A cannot do a whole lot to defend because he's on the mediums, Deco's on the softs. A loses the place to the Alfa Romeo and falls down to P5. D-Dubs through the chicane in P6. GMS in P7. He won't be very happy with how the race has unfolded as well. Turbo in P8 is on the mediums, so these two would also be involved in a late race battle now, GMS and Turbo. But up front, oh, what's happened there? LT Rocker! I was wondering why there wasn't a blue car coming through the corner. So what's happened here to the Subaru driver? Oh. Oh, it's the invisible wall. It claims it's, well, on stream documented first victim. LT Rocker has hit the invisible wall, or maybe just the bit of tire wall that juts out. But that is so frustrating. That must be so frustrating for him here. He has not front wing damage. It's not F1. Sorry, this is front damage and damage to the front left part of his car as well. But he looked to be so promising, and yeah, sympathies to you, LT Logan. That is the worst possible way for your race to go. For any driver, just hitting the invisible wall. Well, LT, it is only onwards and upwards from here on. That is some phenomenal pace you've shown here, and even if it's not meant to be today, don't discount it from being your day in the next few races. And Kling has got a pretty commanding lead over Goose right now, and I think he will be able to see that as well. It doesn't make any sense to try and push for a fast lap or something right now and lose what is pretty much guaranteed win right now. So I think Kling will just be playing it safe, keeping it within track limits, and I think just cruising home. LT will be very upset with it, with how the race has gone. Nico in P4, so he did get past A. Did I miss that? I did miss that. I have to go back quite far to see that. So let's have a look at this overtake before we get back to the action up front. So this is the previous lap. No, sorry, I did capture this, sorry. Yeah, thank you T3 White. All this action has just made me forget what I've already covered. Thank you for being so generous with the action that you provided me in this race. I'm forgetting stuff I've just covered as well. GMS in P7, Turbo Boy in P8, Cherry in 9th, Zelef in 10th. Fancy has had a race to forget. He is still outside the top 10. Sapper in P12. I don't think it was an ideal strategy for him. And Epsilon is pitting for the 4th time, is it? He's going to be lapped. There you go. Kling coming across the start-finish line. Epsilon in the pits. Epsilon will be lapped. Kling's brakes are glowing red hot. Goose in P2 follows suit. And LT's helmet will also be glowing red hot along with his brakes. He will be fuming at that moment there. That is just the worst possible way to have your race go. Deco is closing in on LT, but I don't think there's going to be enough laps to get onto the podium here. That is Epsilon taking on fuel to the end of the race. And I think the only thing that he can do right now is take the fastest lap of Deco's hands. D-Dubs also pits. No, D-Dubs just was on the pit lane exit there. This is a bit of a confusing track for me. I'm not particularly well versed with all the corners and all there. Not very familiar with it. That's why I've made too many mistakes in my callouts tonight. Turbo Boy. You can see GMS in the distance there, but I think they will also hold position. What are we going to see here? Are we going to see A being able to get back past Deco? Are we going to see Deco being able to get past LT? What about Goose? Can Goose have a resurgence in the final 2 or 3 laps of this race? He had a pretty good run in the final laps of the medium tires. Are we going to see something similar for the soft tires as well? What about Kling? Will Kling just be playing it safe, and is he going to be able to hold on to P1? We're about to find out. 3 laps to go as Kling comes across the line to start lap 21 of 23. There we go. So there is ample field spread right now. That's the Lamborghini behind. Yeah, that's Epsilon behind D-Dubs. GMS P7, Turbo in P8. No battles going on right now anywhere. There's a huge amount of field spread. So the closest battle actually is these guys, top 5. So it is A following Deco. Question is, can Deco do anything about LT Rocker? I don't think it is going to be possible for him because he is too far back right now. LT, can he do something about getting past Goose? He seems to have the pace, but there is quite a bit of ground for him to recover right now. As we are entering the banking for not the penultimate time, I don't know what the term is for the final run. Kling, however, is just cruising out in front, having a nice time. He's about to take the chicane, and I think, can just see the caution in his driving here. Doesn't want to take any unnecessary, undue risks here. Just keeping it within track limits as far as possible. He may be a second of his personal best, but he probably doesn't care about it, because he knows that there is a race win in his hands. Well, LT, I don't think the second one was particularly anything that you could have predicted. The invisible wall can just catch you out at the worst possible time, and there's just no telling when it might be. So, still have 2 laps to go. Let's see if anything unfolds. Obviously, you know what's happened to the rest of your race, but 2 laps to go. Are we going to see a very late charge from LT in trying to get past Goose? Are we going to see the top? Is the top 3 set in stone already? Will Deco start last? I've just seen the state of his rear right. A's race might not be over yet. He's gone for a conservative strategy. I would have expected A to go on to the softs, going from the hards to the softs, but he decided otherwise. D-Dub's running in P6 as... Oh, he has Epsilon behind him. I was wondering, JMS is too far back. The headlight throw. So, Epsilon's presence might distract D-Dubs. I hope it doesn't cause his race to go awry. Kling is onto the banking, so is Goose and LT. D-Dubs through the infield. Epsilon has just had a pretty forgetful race, and I just hope he doesn't try to unlap himself at a wrong part of the track. D-Dubs goes a little bit wider there, probably trying to give Epsilon a signal to go past. JMS is far enough behind to not hassle D-Dubs right now. Go through the chicane. LT is... Yeah, I was just gonna say he's trying to push the limits a little bit too much right now, because that is a little bit problematic, and now it is a problem for him. He has a penalty. It won't be disaster for him. He won't lose the podium because Deco is quite far back right now. LT slowing down for his penalty, and we start the final lap of the race. Great Dane Kling Kachau leads the way. Goose is a few seconds down the road. I think Goose will hold on to his P2 given the state of his rear right. Kling's managed his tires very well. He has also managed his track position very well. He's not been involved in any undue unnecessary action, which has allowed him to just get through some of the more chaotic parts of the race. LT in P3. Deco has been able to close up to him, but that's thanks to his penalty. Penalty that LT had to serve just now. But I think they will finish as they are. Looking at the state of Deco's rear right, the only thing that I'm looking forward to seeing is whether Deco will be overtaken by A. And Deco in the chat saying great forms, and I thank you for that. Thank you for those very kind words, Deco. It means a lot. Into the final part of the race. But what a drive it's been by the Great Dane. Kling Kachau in the Jaguar is going to come across the line. No, it's into the chicane. This is not across the line part yet. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. But what a drive it's been for the Jaguar driver. Flashing his lights. He knows the gravity of what he's done right now. This will be great for his championship. Something that I've not discussed actually is the championship standings over the past few rounds. Kling Kachau coming across the line and taking the race win. What a drive! And yes, he did. He has clinged onto the win. Clung onto the win. No, clinged onto the win is better. Goose finishes in P2. LT Rocker just about manages to stand the podium. It seemed like it was going all haywire for him in the final part of the race. A finishes in P4. I think Deco made a mistake or ran out of tires. Let me have a look. That is pretty problematic. This particular section has been very problematic. Deco onto the grass and loses the place to A. It wasn't on the run up to the line like I thought it was when I just did that rewind. D-Dubs is far back. Deco's out of tires, but it doesn't matter for him because he's far enough ahead of the car behind him. A finishes in P4 at the end of all of that. I think he will, in hindsight, look back on this strategy and think that he could have gone a little bit more aggressive, given that he did start on the hard tires. He sets a lap time very close to his personal best. Deco, probably he did pit earlier than he would have liked to, plus the spin. So, okay, this is a photo finish here. No, that is JMS and Epsilon. Never mind. Turbo in P8, Cherry in P9. So, unless somebody further back has opted for fresh tires, Deco will also have the fastest lap of the race. Sapper finishes in P10. Yeah, he will be P10. I think he got past Zelev. Oh, Zelev has a penalty and no tires. Sapper gets past in P10, past the line in P10. Zelev is out of tires, had the penalty and is in P11 and won't be very popular with the likes of GMS as well due to that very elbows out move. Fancy in P12. Rocket has a flourish to the finish in 13th. And there you go. That is the end of the race here at Daytona, and I cannot seem to find the standings tab. No, I can. There you go. So it is tier 3 white. So this result for Kling now sees him in the lead of the championship by 10 points from Deco. Thank you, JMS. Thank you to all of you who are typing out that in the chat. Very, very grateful to hear that. Kling leads Deco, and I think that is A. Sheer A6110 in the Huracan, who is in P3. So 10 points separate the top two, 6 points separate P3 and P4, which is A and Fancy Locks. And then we have Turbo Boy not too far behind in P5. So this is the halfway point of the season, and we have a pretty feisty championship battle on our hands. Next week, do join us for Sardegna B. I'm not very familiar with that track, but I'm very keen to see how these guys fare. Well, nonetheless, thank you for tuning in. Thank you to all the drivers for another very eventful race, and thank you especially for those opening laps. There was so much to follow. It was just amazing. But until next time, thank you. Take care and bye-bye.